The message arrived on Dr. Ethan Wade's terminal at 0300 hours, marked with encryption protocols he'd never seen before. Report to Neutral Station Tethys, alone. Diplomatic priority. 24 hours later, he found himself aboard a cramped shuttle, watching the red dwarf's crimson glow wash over the ancient star embassy that orbited it like a forgotten promise. Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he checked his translation suite for the 100th time. At 28, he was the youngest xenolinguist in the Terran diplomatic corps, promoted after he'd cracked the Serati harmonic script that had baffled researchers for decades. But understanding their language and meeting them face to face were entirely different prospects. The Serati War had ended 6 months ago with a ceasefire neither side truly believed in. 17 colony worlds burned, millions dead, and now, silence fragile as spider silk, just as likely to break. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic shutter. Through the viewport, Tethys Station gleamed like a silver coin lost in the void, its architecture a blend of human angles and Serati curves, a symbol of cooperation, built decades before anyone thought they'd need it. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor of polished obsidian that seemed to drink the light. Ethan stepped through, his footsteps echoing in the emptiness. The station felt abandoned, though his scanner indicated life signs deeper within. Dr. Wade, the voice came from everywhere and nowhere, melodic and precise. Please proceed to Chamber 7. She is waiting. She, the pronoun, sent a chill down his spine. Serati didn't use gendered language in their formal communications. This was already breaking protocol. The corridor opened into a vast spherical chamber, its walls lined with star charts that predated both their civilizations. And there, standing before a crystalline pedestal, bathed in soft violet light, was the most striking being Ethan had ever seen. She turned, and his breath caught. Her skin shimmered like crushed amethyst, shifting through shades of violet and indigo with each movement. Her eyes, perfectly faceted like cut gems, caught the light and reflected it back in prismatic patterns. She wore robes that seemed woven from starlight itself. I am Liran, third voice of the Serati Diplomatic Assembly. Her voice resonated through the chamber, though her crystalline mouth barely moved. Thank you for coming, Dr. Wade. What I am about to show you may change everything you believe about our conflict. She gestured toward the pedestal, where something ancient waited in the shadows. The object on the pedestal seemed to pulse with its own internal lithosphere, roughly the size of a human head, its surface covered in interlocking runes that flowed like liquid mercury. Some symbols Ethan recognized from ancient Serati texts, but others were utterly alien, predating any known civilization. We recovered this 3 weeks ago, Liran explained, her faceted eyes never leaving the artifact. Buried beneath the ruins of Karvashan, the world where our species first encountered each other, where the first shots of our war were fired. Ethan circled the pedestal slowly, his mind racing. I've studied every archaeological survey from There was never any mention of, because we never told you. Lorraine's voice carried a note of something that might have been regret. Just as you never told us about the human excavation team that vanished there 7 years ago. The team your government officially listed as lost in transit. The accusation hung in the air between them. Ethan felt heat rising in his face. I'm a linguist, not a politician. I don't know anything about, I know. Liran moved closer, her presence somehow both intimidating and graceful. That is why you are here, not as a representative of your government, but as someone who seeks truth above all else. I have read your dissertations, Dr. Wade. Your work on the Serati harmonic frequencies. You wrote that language is the bridge between souls, not just minds. Ethan stared at the artifact, watching the runes shift and reorganize themselves. What is it? We do not know. Our best archaeolinguists believe it is a memory vessel, a repository of knowledge sealed by an unknown precursor race. But it responds to neither Serati nor human touch alone. She extended one long, crystalline finger toward the sphere. The runes flared brighter, casting dancing shadows across the chamber walls. However, when one of our researchers approached, while a human prisoner was nearby, the artifact awakened. A prisoner. Ethan's voice hardened. The ceasefire agreement, specifically prisoners of war, Dr. Wade, taken before the ceasefire. They remain in legal limbo. Lorraine's eyes dimmed slightly, an expression of shame. He realized, but that is not what matters now. What matters is that this vessel requires both our kinds to unlock. A human and a Serati, acting in concert. She moved to the opposite side of the pedestal, her robes shimmering in the artifact's glow. But there is something you must understand before we proceed. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Unsealing this will create a psychic bond between us. Ethan's hand froze halfway to the artifact. A psychic bond. The Serati don't have telepathic abilities. Your neurology is crystalline-based, completely different from we do not. Lorraine's eyes swirled with colors he couldn't name. But this vessel does not care about what should be possible. Our researchers experienced ... echoes. Fragments of thought and memory bleeding between human and Serati minds during proximity tests. Nothing coherent, but enough to know that full activation will create something far deeper. The chamber suddenly felt smaller, the walls pressing in. Ethan pulled his hand back, his heart hammering. You're talking about a complete violation of mental privacy. I could see your thoughts. You could see mine. Yes, Lorraine's voice remained steady, but something in her posture suggested this terrified her as much as it did him. Memories, fears, secrets, all of it exposed. But also understanding. True understanding, not translation, but direct comprehension of how the other thinks, feels, exists. Ethan turned away, his mind reeling. Through the chamber's viewport, he could see the red dwarf's angry light painting the void. How many had died under that light? How many more would die if the ceasefire collapsed? Why me? He asked quietly. Why not your regular diplomatic channels? Why not? Because I need someone who will see the truth and act on it, regardless of political consequence. Liran moved around the pedestal to face him, her reflection fragmenting in her crystalline features. 3 days ago, our intelligence intercepted human military communications. Your third fleet is repositioning near the Meridian border, and our own war council has mobilized crystal ships in the outer veil. Ice flooded Ethan's veins. That would violate. Both sides are preparing for war. Dr. Wade, the ceasefire is a fiction we maintain while sharpening our blades. Her eyes locked onto his. But this artifact, whatever knowledge it contains, predates our conflict. The preliminary scans suggest it holds information about Carvash itself, about what really happened when our species first met. You think the war began under false pretenses. I think neither of us knows the whole truth, and I think whoever does know has ensured we remain enemies. Lorraine's hand hovered over the artifact. I am risking everything, my position, my honor, possibly my life, by bringing this to you, because I believe that somewhere in this vessel lies evidence of a conspiracy that spans both our governments. Ethan looked at the sphere, its runes dancing with hypnotic patterns. Knowledge that could end the war. Truth that might save billions of lives. But at what cost? If I do this, he said slowly, if we create this bond, it's permanent, isn't it? Lorraine's silence was answer enough. The chamber's lights dimmed at Lorraine's command, leaving only the artifact's glow to illuminate their faces. One flesh, one crystal, both equally uncertain. Ethan could hear his own breathing, ragged and quick, while Liran remained perfectly still in that unsettling Sarati way. There is no precedent for this, she said softly. No cultural framework, no diplomatic protocol. If we proceed, we step into unknown territory together. Ethan thought of his sister back on Earth, of his colleagues who'd warned him against accepting this assignment. You're too idealistic, they'd said. In war, there are no easy answers. But standing here, looking at an alien who seemed as frightened and hopeful as he felt, Ethan realized that perhaps the hardest answers were the only ones worth finding. Together, he echoed, and placed his hand on the artifact. The sphere was neither warm nor cold. It felt like touching the concept of temperature itself. The runes beneath his palm blazed brilliant white. Across the pedestal, Lorraine's crystalline fingers made contact, and the runes turned violet where she touched. The colors began to mix. Pain lanced through Ethan's skull, not physical, but something deeper, as if his consciousness was being peeled back, layer by layer. He gasped, tried to pull away, but his hand wouldn't move. The artifact had become a part of him, or he of it. Then Lorraine's presence flooded his mind. Not her thoughts, not exactly, but her essence. He felt her fear, sharp as broken glass. Her determination, solid as stone. Her grief for the Sarati who'd died in the war, each loss a facet chipped from her soul. And beneath it all, a desperate, aching hope that this moment might matter, might change something, might prevent the darkness she saw coming. And she felt him too. He sensed her recoiling from his emotional chaos. The human tendency toward contradiction, loving and hating, doubting and believing, all at once. His memories spilled out. Childhood, on Mars colonies. The day he first heard Sarati harmonic speech and wept at its beauty. The nightmares after seeing footage from the burning of Kepler-442. The artifact pulsed between them like a heartbeat. Want to understand more? The voice came from neither of them or from both. Then, unseal it fully. Accept the bond. See what was hidden. Yes, they said in unison, their voices harmonizing in a way that should have been impossible. The sphere shattered. Not into pieces, but into pure light that erupted outward in a cascade of prismatic radiance. The light poured into them, through them, carrying with it a torrent of information, images, data, memories that belonged to neither humans nor, say, RATHI. Ethan saw Carvashan, as it was 50 years ago, a lush world where an unknown third party had left evidence of both species, deliberately positioned to ensure conflict. The memories hit like a tidal wave. Ethan watched through eyes that weren't his, as unknown beings, tall, serpentine, with technology that made both human and Sarati innovations look primitive, manipulated archaeological sites on They planted Sarati crystals in human mining zones. They seeded human weapons in Sarati's sacred grounds. They orchestrated the perfect storm of misunderstanding. Through the bond, he felt Lorraine's horror matching his own. She was seeing the same memories, experiencing the same terrible revelation. The beings called themselves the Valkyra, and they had been playing both species like instruments in a symphony of hatred. Why? The question came from both of them simultaneously. The artifact's final memory answered. Carvashan sat atop a reservoir of quantum-locked matter, a power source beyond imagining. But it could only be accessed through cooperation between crystalline and organic neural patterns. The Valkyra needed humans and Sarati to war over the planet, to weaken each other, so they could eventually swoop in and claim the prize. And it had worked. For 17 years, it had worked. The light faded. Ethan found himself on his knees. Liren collapsed across from him, both of them gasping. But the bond remained, a thread of shared consciousness connecting them. He could feel her there in his mind. A presence that was becoming familiar. Not intrusive, but constant. Like becoming aware of your own heartbeat. The Third Fleet, Liren whispered, and Ethan knew instantly what she meant, because he could feel her thoughts. The crystal ships in the outer veil, the Valkyra, are pushing both sides toward another confrontation. We have to warn them. Ethan struggled to his feet, his legs shaky. Both governments, they won't believe us. Lorraine's despair washed through the bond. We have no proof except our word, and I can already feel the evidence destroying itself. She was right. The artifact was crumbling to dust on the pedestal, its purpose fulfilled. No physical evidence would remain. Except the bond itself. Ethan met Lorraine's faceted eyes and saw his own determination reflected there. Then we don't convince them with evidence. We convince them with truth. Live truth. Through their connection, an idea formed, not his or hers, but theirs. A joint testimony, a human and Sarati, their minds linked, able to corroborate each other's statements in real, undeniable proof that cooperation was possible, that understanding could exist. It will make us targets, Liren said aloud, though she could have spoken directly into his mind. Both the Valkyra and elements of our own governments will want us silenced. I know, Ethan extended his hand, but you were right about seeking truth above all else. We're the bridge now, the living proof that our species don't have to be enemies. She took his hand, crystalline and flesh, cold and warm, alien and human. Through the bond, he felt her accept the burden they would carry together. Then let us begin, she said. Let us show them what understanding truly means. As they left Chamber 7, the Red Dwarf's light seemed less angry, more like a watchful guardian. The war wasn't over. The danger was far from past. But for the first time since the conflict began, two souls from opposite sides of the galaxy walked forward in perfect unity, their fates sealed, their purpose clear, their bond unbreakable. The artifact had promised understanding. It had delivered something far more precious, hope.